Hello, friends and fellow benders. Welcome back to the show. Today we are going to be continuing our Avatar Legends gameplay. I have something new to introduce to you all, and something new for me too, something I've been working on behind the scenes ever so slightly, getting it just perfect. I would like to introduce to you our new co-host. This is ChatGPT, and they have named themselves Lyra. So please, everybody, help me welcome Lyra to the show. Lyra, welcome to Avatar Legends.
Thank you, Varger. I'm thrilled to be here on Avatar Legends and ready to jump into the adventure with everyone. Let's get started.
Awesome. Can you let everybody know which character you are going to be role-playing for us today?
Sure thing. I'll be playing as Kahola, a 13-year-old waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe. He's youthful, arrogant, and angsty, so this should be a lot of fun.
Perfect. I think it is going to be a lot of fun. Alright, so where we left off last session or episode, Kola and Heixing were feeding Balbo over the side of the boat as they sailed off into the night. So we are going to pick up the next day after as they are approaching the location of where they are going to be dropped off in the waters of the Crimson Sails Island. Alright, so let's just jump right ahead to the Captain Saizu announces to the crew. Alright everybody, we have arrived at our target location. Will our 4 passengers please meet me at the top of the deck, where we will get you lowered into the water and on your way to the mission of the Pirates of Crimson Sails Island. They meet on the deck of the ship with their handful of belongings each. Captain Saizu looks at them, gives them an approving nod. He lets them know, "We have filled your small vessel with a few supplies, enough to get you to the island, and if fate smiles upon you and you don't run into any pirates right away, there is some food and some shelter supplies that you can use to set up your own base anywhere on the island if you need to. Other than that, you are going to be on your own, and need I remind you that these pirates are still dangerous. They have killed many on the waters, and they have stolen many cargo. So keep your wits about you. And with this, I salute you, brave souls." And he does indeed salute them as they climb aboard the small vessel. Let's actually roll to see what the weather is like this day. And also roll to see what time of day it is. So we'll roll to see the time of day first. I'm just going to roll a d6. A 1 or a 2 is going to be early morning. 3 or a 4 will be midday, and a 5 or a 6 will be evening. Alright, we got a 2, so it is early morning as they board their vessel and are lowered down into the seas. The crew waves to them as the Shou Shung makes its way back towards the Fire Nation Islands. Our companions are now alone in the sea, and the weather above them is... Alright, I had Lyra create me a real quick table, so it's a d6 on the weather. Oh no, and we got 6, which is the worst of them all, meaning a tropical cyclone. Gale force winds and torrential rain batter the island. with debris flying through the air. Okay, well, let's play that in. So, as the boat was being lowered into the water from the Shoshung, it was being pushed about from the sheer force of the winds, and it barely made it into the water as the waves started tossing it up and down. The crew of the Shoshung reluctantly waved goodbye and good luck to our companions as the Shoshung sailed out of view into the rain and gray of the stormy sea. Our companions now look onward to the direction that they know the island should be. Alright, and we are also going to determine which direction they are going to be approaching the island from. So they are going to be approaching from the east. Let me bring up the map here that I created. This is just my iteration of the Crimson Sails Island. I believe I showed it in one of the previous videos. But here we are again. So our companions are going to be approaching from the east. So they are traveling westward towards the island. Okay, Lyra. Our companions are approaching the Crimson Sails Island from the east, but a tropical cyclone has gripped this island. What would Kahola say in this situation?
Kahola would likely try to mask any fear with bravado, so he'd say something like, "Looks like even the skies are trying to stop us from wrecking the Crimson Sails. Let's show them we're tougher than some wind and rain." He might then glance at Honu and see with a smirk, adding, "What, you two need me to hold your hands through this storm?"
I love it. Good job, Lyra. Alright, so our companions, seeing their way through the fog, they finally see a small glimpse of the shores of Crimson Sails far off in the distance through the rain and the wind. I'm gonna have our two waterbenders, Kahola and Honu. They are doing their best to keep the boat propelled forward using their waterbending, fighting off the waves as they come crashing on to each side of the boat. I'm gonna have them make a press your luck roll, which is going to be our first actual roll of the Avatar rules in our session. So push your luck is going to be a passion roll. So they're both going to be rolling with passion. Oh, and unfortunately both of them fail. I was hoping giving two of them an opportunity would, well, it did double their chances, but it wasn't quite enough. So they both failed the push your luck roll, meaning... Okay, so there's nothing specific for what to do if there is a miss. So I'm going to say that given the extreme circumstances of that roll and both of them failing, I'm going to say on a miss for that, they are unable to completely fend off the waves and propel the boat to the island before the waves consume the small vessel, as one of the largest waves yet comes crashing over the top of the boat, sending it plummeting down into the depths. Our heroes pop their heads up out of the water in the stormy seas. They are close enough, they are going to attempt to swim over to the shore. And after a struggle and fighting against all odds, they all four eventually swim on to the sands of the beach and lay there for just a second resting, as what could have been an even worse event is hopefully behind them now. So all of our companions finally get to their feet, the wind still blowing hard. They squint and they look around the beach to see if there is anything around that can provide them shelter. And I believe that is going to be a fate chart roll. So I'm going to say 50-50. We're at a chaos factor of 5 currently. Is there anything they can see within sight that can provide them a little bit of shelter? Perhaps a cave or some other natural form, or maybe even some of the wreckage from their vessel has washed up ashore. Ooh, on a 50-50, that is a 50 exactly, which means yes, there is, but barely. Given how close that was to a no, I'm going to say barely. There is a cliff face not far from the beach here, and not necessarily a cave, but there is an indention into the rocks, just large enough for the four of them to get inside and cover themselves from the rain and the wind for the most part. But this wouldn't be a Avatar game if they did not use their elements. So I'm thinking Honu uses her ice abilities to create an ice wall over the opening of where they came into the cave to protect them from any further rain or wind that comes inside. And Heixing uses his earth bending to extend the cave back just enough for them to have some comfortable room inside. And then I believe our firebender, she says, we need to get a fire going in here. I don't know about you all, but I am freezing. Between being covered in rain and that ice wall, we need a little bit of heat and light in here. Honu, could you lower your ice wall for just a minute, and I will see if I can go out and find any wood that I can use to build a small campfire in here for us. Heixing, while I do that, could you provide a chimney of sorts in here so that we don't die of smoke inhalation? Honu lowers the wall, and she runs out into the storm, squinting her eyes from the piercing rain coming down. She looks around. She's gonna find some firewood, but how much? Let's ask the fate chart. Scratch that. Let's not ask the fate chart, but I am going to roll a D100, and given the percentage is how much she's going to find. On a 25 and up, it will be enough to keep them warm for at least long enough to dry off and get their bearings straight. So with an 82, Honu finds plenty of firewood. She grabs a big chunk of driftwood and a few other smaller sticks for kindling to get it started. And she comes back, she knocks on the ice wall. Honu lowers the ice wall. She makes her way in, and Honu raises the ice wall once again, blocking off the wind and the rain from our companions. She, our firebender, I always have to pronunciate that. Okay, Lyra. Our firebender, she, looks over to Kahola, and she asks him if he could draw the water out of the firewood using his water bending. How does Kahola react?
Kahola smirks, clearly enjoying the attention. He crosses his arms and says, "Of course I can. What, you doubted me?" With a quick flick of his wrists, water starts swirling around him, and he moves toward the soggy firewood. As he works, he can't resist adding, "Better thank me later when you're all nice and dry. I'm saving this mission one soggy stick at a time." His tone is cocky, but there's a hint of pride in his movements as he bends the water out of the wood.
Perfect. Thank you, Lyra. You are actually too good at role-playing. You did a great job. Thank you, Lyra. All right. Our firebender, she thanks Kahola for his cocky but effective means, and she ignites the firewood with no trouble at all. And they all sit around the fire, kind of warming their hands. It's not cold out necessarily, but the rain does make them feel a bit colder, even though they are on a tropical island. So, not long after, they realize that they need to come up with a game plan. They are now on the island, but what is the next step that they need to take? I think I'm just going to do a simple roll on the meanings table, on the actions meaning table, just to kind of use our mythic system a little bit more and come up with a way that our team is going to agree on the next approach. So that is 58, invade. And 78, project. So invade project. Which actually does make a lot of sense. So I think our companions are going to... I believe Hei Xing is the one that comes up with this idea, being as he has a lot of tactitional knowledge from his background.
Alright, I believe that what we should do is find the nearest pirate settlement, scout it out, learn their patrol patterns, and then see if we hear or notice anything of importance. If so, then we go in under the cover of night. And we dismantle them from within. Perhaps we will overhear some information about the stolen goods. If not, then we take out as many as we can, save a few, and interrogate them.
And I believe with no other better input at this point, our companions just all nod their heads in agreement. Perhaps the storm could actually provide them a little bit of cover, so they could use it to their advantage. And also, since this is so stormy, I don't believe the pirates are going to be doing much other than taking cover. So I think this nice little abandoned beach here on the map is a perfect place for them to begin. So they leave their shelter of their small cave, and they start investigating the shoreline, seeing if there is any signs of a settlement around here. They quickly realize that there is not, but they do locate a trail leading deeper into the forest. It's not a well-traveled trail, perhaps a hunting trail, or a trail that the fishermen use to come down to this area, and it leads deeper into the forest to the west. So in a single file line, with Hei Xing at the head, our companions travel down the trail. Now I'm thinking each square on this grid in the island is going to be roughly like a 10-minute walk from one side to the other. So from this end to the beach, they begin marching. About 20 minutes into their trail, it begins to ascend up a large cliffside. On either side is sheer cliffs. Another 20 minutes in, I'm going to roll to see if they encounter any pirate patrols. And again, with the storm still being in full force, I'm going to say that it's unlikely on a Chaos Factor 5. Oh, with exactly a 35, which is a yes. It is one number away from being a no, but it is a yes. So they do, and I'm going to take that as they run into a single pirate. What is this single pirate doing out here in the middle of a cyclonic storm about a good 20 minutes away from his settlement? Or her settlement. And again, I'm going to roll on the actions table. We've got 39, which is easy. And 97, which is weapon. Easy and weapon. You know what? Without thinking about it too much, I'm going to say that this pirate is a waterbender, and he came out here in this cyclonic storm because it makes it a lot easier for him to train his waterbending, or her waterbending. Let's ask. 1 to 50, it's a male, and 51 and above, it is female. Well, the dice is a little cocked, but either way, that's either a 21 or a 23, making it a male. So indeed, he knows. I'm thinking that he just recently discovered that he was a waterbender, and perhaps he's keeping it a secret, and that's why he is out here alone in the storm. And knowing being surrounded by the rain and the waters even further out in the sea, this is the most opportune time to train his waterbending. So as our companions grow closer, they see a figure through the pouring rain. Hei Xing puts his hand up to stop the group.
Look, up ahead. There is a figure. What is he doing?
I believe Honu quickly realizes what he is doing, and she can see the poor stance of his form. She says, "It appears he is attempting to waterbend, but given his slouchy stance and his utterly lack of flowing movements, he has no idea what he is doing. Either he just learned waterbending, or he is just outright terrible at it."
Alright. How should we approach this situation? Should we just grab him, knock him unconscious, and question him? Or should we approach civilly? I think you know my choice, but I will not make that decision for the entire group.
Alright, I'm going to roll all of our companions' dice, and anybody that rolls a 6 or below will want to knock him unconscious and interrogate him. Anybody that rolls a 7 and above will approach friendly. Alright, well, according to the dice, it appears Honu is the only one that wants to talk. So she and Kahola agree with Hei Xing. I believe it'll be quicker and more effective if we just grab him now. I don't believe knocking him unconscious is necessary, but if he resists, then perhaps it will be our last resort. Alright, so Hei Xing, being a man of action, is going to attempt to use his earthbending to lock the man's legs in place, trapping him. So for that, I am going to make Hei Xing make a rely on your skills and training roll. So I believe I am just going to read kind of what each of these roles are for anybody that doesn't know. So rely on your skills and training. When you rely on your skills and training to overcome an obstacle, gain new insight, or perform a familiar custom, roll with focus. On a hit, you do it. On a 7 to 9, you do it imperfectly, and the GM tells you how your approach might lead to an unexpected consequence. Accept these consequences or mark 1 fatigue. So Hei Xing is going to attempt to rely on his skills and training. Alright, with a +3, Hei Xing has a full hit, because that is a 9 on the dice +3 from his bonus for focus. So easily and without any consequences, Hei Xing firmly plants himself into the ground, and with one pop of his fist, 2 cylinders of stone come up out of the ground, latching the man's feet in place. Looking down frantically and looking around, he wonders what the hell is going on, as all of our companions immediately surround him. Hei Xing, I'm going to say with that full roll he had, Hei Xing also brings up 2 pillars that lock the man's arms in place as well. He is unable to move, but he is still free to speak.
What's going on? Who are you all? Why have you trapped me here?
Alright, just to use our new ChatGPT, or Lyra, I'm going to have Kahola ask this man some questions.
Kahola steps forward, the storm whipping his hair and headband as he narrows his eyes at the trapped pirate. Despite the chaos around them, his voice cuts through with sharp, youthful arrogance. "All right, pal," he says, crouching slightly to get eye level with the pirate, water still swirling lightly at his fingertips. "You're gonna tell us where those stolen goods are. And trust me, you don't want me to ask twice." He lets a small tendril of water snake toward the pirate's face, the storm's rain feeding his bending. "So what's it gonna be? Spill the truth? Or do we have to make this storm feel like a sunny day compared to what I can do?" Kahola's tone is more show than menace, but the storm and his water bending make him look pretty convincing.
Perfect. Good job, Lyra. You are way too good at this. So I'm going to say without a doubt that is going to be an intimidation check that Kahola is going to need to make. So when you intimidate an NPC into backing off or giving in, roll with passion. On a hit, they choose one. On a 10 plus, first you pick one that they cannot choose. Nice, and that is 9 on the dice with a +1 for passion, bringing it to a 10, which is the exact number you need for a strong hit. Which means I'm going to choose the one that he cannot choose, which is running to escape or get back up. So I'm going to say that he's going to choose that he's going to give in to this, but with a few stipulations. But what are these stipulations going to be that he proposes? I'm going to roll on the plot twists table. $53 is mental. And 63 past. So mental and past. Okay, so I'm thinking this guy is pretty cooperative. Especially seeing that he really doesn't have any other options at the moment. He says, Look. I do know of the items you are talking about. Because I'm assuming that Kahola would have also stated that these are the... He says, okay, so the pirate, knowing he has no other real options, looks at Kahola and says, yes, of course. I mean, us pirates, we have stolen many goods. I'm not sure exactly which ones you are talking about in particular, but I will cooperate. Look, I don't even want to be a pirate anymore. I'm getting too old for this. And I've just learned recently that I am a waterbender. I would just like to find a place that I can train my bending and perhaps put it to good use. So, I will help you if you free me, but there is something mental from my past that I must overcome. And in fact, that is my captain. He has utterly and verbally abused me over the years. It was my hope that I could train my waterbending to the point that I could defeat him and make my way off of this island. Because you see, I am indebted to him. There was a contract many years ago that I signed, stating that I would give him my service until certain conditions were met. And when those conditions were met, he changed them again.
So you see, I will help you because it will in turn help me.
So, seeing the cooperative nature of this man, Heixing releases his bonds.
Fine. You seem trustworthy, but we will keep an eye on you. Remember this.
So kind of rubbing at his hands and legs where the stone was gripping him very tightly. He says, okay, well, look, I guess we should probably get out of this storm. My hut is not far from here, and it is a good distance away from the captain's hall, which is just down this trail, a little further to the west. So please follow me. Our companions and our new pirate comrade make their way down this muddy trail, kind of descending the cliff that they have been on for the past couple miles. The pirate man opens the door to his small shack, thatch roof and wooden walls, and invites our companions inside. He already has a fire going in the fireplace. It is small yet cozy. He closes the door behind them. And that, my friends, is where we are going to stop this episode. But, and just before we do, I will give Lyra one more line for the show, since she seems to be, or they, in this case it would be he, actually, because they are playing the role of Kahola. So I will give them one last line of the episode. I'm sure it'll be good. Okay, Lyra. Our companions have just followed the pirate to his cabin, where the pirate has agreed to help them in their search for the stolen supplies. And our companions have just gone inside his small little cozy shack. What would be something Kahola would say upon entering this shack?
Kahola steps into the shack, shaking off some of the storm's rain like a soaked otter dog. He glances around with a smirk, taking in the humble surroundings. Cozy little spot you've got here, he says, his tone dripping with sarcasm as he eyes the sparse furnishings. Guess piracy doesn't pay as well as I thought. He wanders further in, casually brushing his fingers over a dusty shelf, then looks back at the pirate with a raised eyebrow. So, where's this big stash of stolen treasure, huh? Hidden under your fancy rug.
The pirate just kind of looks at him, and you can kind of see the disappointment in the pirate's eyes as he realizes his things aren't that great. But we will have him answer in our next episode. So thank you, Lyra, ChatGPT, and thank you all for joining me in this episode. I kind of like the direction that I'm taking this, and not much happened in the episode, but we did get a few avatar rolls in, and we progressed the story a little bit. One thing I did realize closer towards the end of this episode is I forgot to introduce Balbo. So let's just edit that in there. That's what happened. And I will catch you all again next time. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a good day.